After Nancy and I completed our phone call, I clicked around a little bit and came up with a couple of references to Scientology positioning itself as an anti-human trafficking organization. And I sent an email with links to those PR pieces to Nancy. And this is the subject: Caste and Scientology's Anti-Human Trafficking PR. Hi Nancy, thanks for the info recast. I mentioned Scientology's usurping of the anti-human trafficking mantle, and then I gave her a link. This would give them an in with Caste. They probably provide money to Caste, which says it needs money. And probably the cult has people working with Caste to derail applications for help, just as Scientology has people in the LAPD, Riverside Sheriff Department, etc., to derail victims' claims, and just as they had agents in Cannes to derail Scientology victims' requests for help. In any case, I'll contact Caste and see what comes of it. Sent her another link and took a quote from the Scientology article there. January 11, 2007, Los Angeles. Human rights activists from Southern California will gather on Wednesday, January 17th, to address the growing problem of human trafficking in Los Angeles and throughout the United States. The event is being organized jointly by the International Foundation for Human Rights and Tolerance, the Los Angeles City Commission on the Status of Women Human Trafficking, the San Diego Bilateral Safety Corridor Coalition, Youth for Human Rights International, which of course is a Scientology operation, the Human Rights Department of the Church of Scientology International, Artists for Human Rights, fits right in there too, the Orange County Human Trafficking Task Force, the Rescue and Restore Southern Region Coalition, and the Salvation Army. And this is me talking again. Please do not assume that Scientology does not have influence in caste. That would be naive. Good luck out there, Gerry. I did assume at that point that Scientology must have influence in caste. If it really is dealing with Scientology's victims and assisting Scientology's victims, then it is completely naive to not assume, especially because the organization is right there in Scientology's town of Los Angeles. It is naive to assume that Scientology does not have influence in caste. And the more I have researched this, the more obvious it has become that there is an improper, immoral relationship between caste and Scientology in all of this. Nancy emailed me back. No, you are correct. Sometimes Pollyanna can't help herself but come out. I want to get more individuals on their lines. By this time, I'm thinking I don't want individuals to be on their lines. I don't want to be on their lines. I want to check these people out. She continues, let these people see, she's talking about caste, so let caste see what this group is truly doing behind the curtain. The group she's talking about, I guess, is Sea Org. So let caste see what the Sea Org is truly doing behind the curtain. I don't know how you can, show someone what's going on behind the curtain, but it does make sense to tell caste, but caste shouldn't be shown this, it seems to me, by the individuals who are the victims. Educate caste so that the people who show up, not for the purpose of educating caste, but because they are victims, get handled as victims rather than them having to educate caste. She continues, they need to keep hearing everyone's story. I assume by that they've already heard everyone's story, and now they need to keep hearing it. So it hasn't worked, whatever is supposed to work, in hearing everyone's story for them to get whatever is behind the curtain. So anyway, she continues, hope it gets some movement from our government. I didn't know at that point much about the connection between caste and the government and how caste was going to influence the government to take some kind of action against Scientology. That's what's being implied as far as I can read it, but I didn't have enough information at that time to piece it all together. She continues, but in the meantime, we can see how much help we can get for so many people who may have a chance to get their life up to a bettered place. Again, to me, this whole thing was confusing, and she signs it, Love Ya, Pollyanna, and I was getting a feeling at this point that this was more than the Pollyanna phenomenon going on. And a little later on in the afternoon, I did a little more research, and I wrote Nancy back, Yep, found it. Youth for Human Rights, a Scientology cult front, is a caste coalition member. And I give her the link to Youth for Human Rights and where they appear as a coalition member on caste's site, and the link that caste provides for Youth for Human Rights. Then I say also Caste ED K. Buck appears in Freedom Mag. I'm going to go public with this right now. People who have contacted Caste should know that they're doubtlessly providing intel to Scientology. I wouldn't doubt that the cult has, quote, volunteers manning Caste's phones. Caste should be exposed, and if they're legitimate at all, they should take action to sever all connections to Scientology. Please contact people you urged to call Caste and let them know their information very likely is in Scientology's Intel Bureau. And please join in the effort to correct this travesty. Sorry, this is tragic and ugly, but exposure and warning is the only reasonable action now. And I stand by that decision from a week ago that of going public, and that it is the only way to correct this. All of it must be exposed. Everyone has to come forward, and those who will not come forward, then any connections should be severed to these people, and that's Scientology in this case.